There is lots of information out there telling us the best countries in the world to live in. We hear that Portugal offers free healthcare, Colombia has amazing weather, and that Malaysia provides a lower cost of living. But does that mean we should move there? What's the catch? And how does living there as an expat compare with slow traveling around the world? Hey everyone, I'm Emily. My husband Chris and I have taken early retirement so that we can slow travel around the world, spend more time with our families and friends, and work on projects that matter to us. We're currently in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and it is a beautiful city. It has a great climate, plenty of things to do, a lower cost of living, and several options for becoming permanent residents here. So should we move here and call this place home? Every time we arrive in a new place, Chris and I talk about what it would be like to live here. But then we move on to the next place. So why do we keep choosing slow travel instead? Making a permanent move takes a lot of time, money, and effort. Chris and I moved to another country for a few years, and so we know from experience that it is a lot to deal with. If you want to stay in a country for longer than what the usual tourist visa allows, then you need to figure out the system. Many countries are now starting to offer simplified visas for retirees and digital nomads, where you can stay in the country for about a year, assuming that you can prove a certain level of income. This can be a great option depending on what you're looking for. But if you want that permanent residency status, you're likely going to have to shell out a lot of time, money, and effort just to get it. Depending on the country and your age, you may even have to buy a property or start a business to get your residency. And this can take years of work and stress before you actually qualify for that permanent residency status that you're going for. News articles are really quick to point out the benefits that you'll get when you move to a new country. Like, for example, you might get free healthcare. But these benefits are usually only available to permanent residents and citizens of the country. So when you move to that country and you don't have permanent residency status, you don't qualify for the free healthcare. You can spend years trying to get permanent residency status, and during that time, you're paying for your own healthcare and not getting the benefits you thought you might get by moving to that country. I've also seen lots of perks being offered by different towns around the world, where you can do things like buy a house there for $1. And these look really great on the surface, but when you start digging into it, you realize that there's usually a catch. Something like, yeah, you can buy a house for $1, but you must start a business there where you hire at least 10 employees or something like that. And depending on the country where you're buying a house, home ownership might not mean what you think it means. In Canada and in other parts of the world, we might be used to getting a deed or a title for our property, but that concept doesn't exist everywhere and isn't honored in the same way everywhere. I heard a story from a couple who bought a new home, lived in it for a while, and then left on an extended vacation. When they returned, they found another family living in their home, and they could not get their home back. We cannot assume that the laws and customs that we're used to in our home country will apply in the new country we're moving to. And it can take a lot of time and effort to figure out the laws and customs in our new country. It might be the right decision for you to make a purchase in another country, but it's good to be aware that what things appear to be on the surface might not actually be the reality. And it's good to know that there might be some strings attached. Depending on your visa status and what you're trying to do, you might also be required to stay in the country for a certain period of time without leaving while your paperwork is being processed. And this can be for 6 months or even longer. This can make it really difficult for you to travel, for you to see your family, or to return home in case of an emergency. It means your travel is limited to staying within the country while certain phases of your application are processed. Another consideration if you're thinking about becoming an expat is taxes. Your home country and your new country will have different tax regulations. And figuring out the difference between the two and how they come together is a complicated process that can end up costing a ton of money. And it is headache-inducing. Another consideration if you're thinking about leaving your home country is having to give up things like your driver's license. For example, my Canadian driver's license would be good for a period of time after I left my home country, but it's not good forever. And so I would likely get a driver's license in the new country that I'm moving to. But then if I ever wanted to move back to Canada later in life, I would likely have to go through the driver's license process all over again. And that's because Canada doesn't necessarily honor the driver's license I have in another country. And so I would have to be forced to take my road test all over again. One thing I always tell myself when we get to a new city and everything looks so beautiful is that the grass is always greener on the other side. I know so much about the pros and cons of living in Canada. All the political, social, and healthcare issues we face makes me wonder if it would be better somewhere else. And when I'm in sunny, hot Buenos Aires and I hear about the ridiculous amounts of snow falling back home, I am really glad I'm not there. While Buenos Aires doesn't have any snow, it does have its own issues. And some places have more issues than others. And though Canada isn't perfect, I am very grateful for the opportunities that I've had as a Canadian. As a slow traveler, I don't have to face many of the issues in other countries. But if I were to make a permanent residency move there, I could be facing more issues than I initially realized. Like, for example, in Canada, I'm pretty used to relying on constant electricity. When I wake up in the morning, my electricity's on, and it stays on throughout the day. But depending on the country or the city that you're in, that might not be true, and you could be facing rolling blackouts on a daily basis. But if I'm just slow traveling through the area, I deal with the electricity issues for a month or two, and then I move on. In my opinion, you should be really committed to making another country your home before moving there permanently. Slow travel allows us to see so much of the world without the hassle of moving to a new place. There are definitely some challenges to the long-term travel lifestyle, depending on your personality, like living out of a suitcase, finding a way to make an income, not being around close friends, and adjusting to a new location, only to leave and have to start the process all over again. But to me, the major benefit of slow travel is the flexibility it offers. I can go anywhere in the world that I want to with just my backpack and learn about the new place. I love the agility and the lightness of my lifestyle. And that's our video for today. We'll see you in the next one.